Hey and welcome to this walkthrough for Alt Piano, which is a brand new update recreated from the ground up into our new Evergreen framework. Alt Piano, it's an old piano from the 1960s. We've recorded it with and without felt, so you've got two very different personalities. The felted recordings are really soft and beautiful and gentle. The non-felted, traditional sound of the piano is much more bright and open and lively. And we've got a felt control to blend between the two as well. There's also 11 different texture recordings as well, and these have been crafted from the original source recordings. They've been put through like reel-to-reel, guitar pedals, cassette tape, all sorts of things to kind of like give you a range of interesting sounds that you can either play on their own or kind of like as a underbed to the actual piano itself and kind of like give it more of an uplifting ambience behind it. The three original textures from the original version of Alt Piano are still in there. And then you've got these others as well. But what we've done is we've added a texture slider which can change and manipulate and morph those sounds a little bit more than they are already. And the texture slider changes on each one as well. So each one does a little bit of a different sound. The other controls you've got are a live pianist effect, which kind of like creates a much more of a live sense of a piano player being there in the recording. You've got 4 microphone positions and then all of our other effects that we've got in our Evergreen framework as well. So there's absolutely loads of different sounds that you can achieve with this piano. What this piano is really good for is if you want that kind of like that characterful human sound. All the pianos that I played when I was growing up were like this. They were like not always well looked after, not always perfectly tuned, not all of them played perfectly, and this is kind of what this piano is for. If you're looking for like a pristine concert grand piano that's absolutely perfect and there's not a flaw in it, then this isn't the piano for you. But if you do want something that's much more characterful, it's got more personality, it's got more sort of like soul behind it, then this is definitely what you'd be looking for. There's absolutely loads in here, so I'm going to take you through all the controls now so you get a sense of what it's capable of. So the piano sound to begin with, this is the unfelted natural sound of the piano first. And then if you use this felt fader here, if you fade it all the way to the top, this is the full felt recordings now. And then you can just kind of blend in between them too. I quite like having the normal felt and then just bringing a touch of the natural piano sound in. So there you can kind of get a sense that you can change the tone however you want. Onto these texture controls now, and you've got 11 to choose from. Like I say, each one's different to the last one. You've got lots of different variations, lots of different options. And like I say, with this texture slider, you can slightly change the way these ones sound as well. So for give you this one first called Grain, this is from the original version of Alt Piano. As you can hear, the texture slider slightly changing the way the whole thing sounds. And then this earth one as well, again from the original. Now I've got this texture fader mapped to one of my hardware controllers on here, and if you wanted to do that yourself, you just right click on the control, hit Learn MIDI CC, and then move the fader that you want to, and then that'll be able to control it. And that's the same with any of these faders and knobs on the interface. Let's take you through a couple more now. This one's one of my favorites. As you can hear, that one's kind of like making the sound brighter, losing a lot of the low end, so it just kind of like makes it more icy when it's sat beneath one of the piano sounds. So the texture fader on that one kind of introduces much more of like a pitch bendy, warbly kind of like tape sound, which is really interesting to hear. So what you can do is combine these on their own. So if you just wanted to add a few of them together, you can do. Or they're there, like I say, to add kind of like a more of a texture underneath the actual piano sound itself. And this will just augment the piano, make it sound a bit more interesting, and kind of just put it in much more of an atmospheric space. So let's just choose these two. So if you didn't want that texture as loud as the actual piano itself, you can just hit the edit window here and then just bring the volume down. There's different ways to control the sound that way. So let's just combine a few of these now. Let's bring the piano all the way up to the fully felted sound, and then let's add this one. You can hold down shift to add multiple versions, multiple sounds here, and then you can also hold down shift to take away some as well. So if you're experimenting and changing these sounds, it's a really quick way to do it. So let's choose that one, and that one. Let's see what this sounds like. So as you can hear, like a really interesting way to augment the natural sound of the piano. I think because these texture layers have been made from the source recordings, they are the piano, just manipulated and changed into something new. It's way better than just sort of adding just an effect to the normal piano and just adding a plugin that wouldn't get you anywhere near the same result as what these are doing. So it's just a really interesting way to add that atmospheric underlayer to a normal piano, or just use them on their own. They sound great on their own as well. So let's just move on to the back to the piano again. You've got four microphones that we've recorded. These close microphones are like buried into the piano, so they're really close and intimate. You've got a room sound, which is much more balanced, kind of like much more where the actual player would be sitting. So that's kind of like a much more natural sound. Rear microphones that are placed on the back, and then ambient microphones as well, which are kind of like basically in a different room to the recording studio. So that's much more of a listener position. I'll show you that. And then just added together. There is no right or wrong way to do this, but something like that will probably sound good. I think the ambient microphones sound good when they're just there. If I just turn off all the natural, all the built-in reverb there, it's kind of a natural way to add reverb because it's that distant microphone perspective. but you can combine and manipulate those however you want to. On page 2 of the microphones, you've also got these separate piano sounds as well. So you've got the noises of the keys, so like the how loud and clanky you want the releases of the keys to be. Then you've got these 2 options for the pedal noises. So the pedal is just the sustain pedal when you press that up and down, how loud that is. And then the string resonance is what happens when you hit a sustain pedal on a piano, is all the strings suddenly start to ring. And the louder you hit that piano pedal, the louder those strings resonate. And that's what we've got there, a control for that natural kind of sound that happens when you hit the sustain pedal on a piano. So you can use those, mix them however you want to, or just turn them off if you don't like those kind of sounds on a piano and you want to make it less realistic, then just pull those away. The reverbs you've got there's 8 to choose from, the same as the electric home piano. So really big range of sounds. I'm really into close sounding pianos at the moment. So this Fireside one is really cool. It's just like a nice room sound. Let's get just down to the very close mics. So really warm, in your face, absolutely up there and close and personal, really nice. Let's move on to the effects page next. And the best control on this, for me anyway, the best control on this whole page is the Transpitch control. It really shines well on pianos, I think. And what this Transpitch control is, if you don't know about it, is basically pitch shifting samples down while transposing them back up. So you're still getting the same key center, but what you're getting is a much darker, moodier, richer sound. Let's go back to the natural piano. Let's keep that where it is. So this is off all the way. And then let's move it up a gear, 4. And then off again. So what I've been doing recently is kind of like getting a much more mono sound using this width control here, almost all the way to completely mono, taking a lot of the low end out so the sound is a bit more thinner, using this Transpitch control to kind of like create a moodier sound. And then there's this noise as well in here. I'm going to add more than you probably think you should, somewhere around there. And that's just kind of like some mic signal hiss and those kind of things. And I think what we were trying to do with alt piano the whole time is to kind of create a piano that does sound much more just interesting, rather than, I was kind of getting a bit bored of pianos. I had lots of piano libraries that all sound perfect, and they sound like exactly, you know, recreation of a perfect grand piano in a concert hall. And I was like, I don't really want that anymore. All my favorite pianos are pianos from my youth and my childhood, where they're pianos that weren't looked after and they weren't always well tuned and well maintained. So they have got this interesting character and personality behind them. And I think that's what I've been doing more and more with this piano specifically, is kind of like pushing it into this older space. So that's what I'm doing here, is kind of like making it more mono. I think you can make these, you know, pianos sound too immersive and too wraparound and too much, almost like your head's in the middle of the piano. But that's not necessarily the way older pianos were recorded. So I think let's go for, you know, mono sound here, take some of the low end out, Transpitch is all the way up here at 8, and then add some noise in as well. So as you can hear, much more vintage vibe to that, much more like the piano would have been recorded originally when it was first made, much more of a mono recording, kind of like pitch shifted down, not much bottom end to it, and like a really soulful vibe to it. And that's what I'm really into at the moment. It's kind of like making pianos sound like that way, but you can make it sound absolutely massive as well. So within a few clicks, we're going to make it sound really big. So let's turn on one of these big reverbs. Let's take the noise off, take the Transpitch up a little bit, reset the EQ. Let's open this up. Let's put a tiny bit of felt in. Let's add the rear mics as well. And then let's add one of these. Let's add a couple. So as you can hear there, just within a few clicks, we've gone from like this soulful 60s vintage mono sounding close-up piano to a really big, expansive, kind of like epic sounding, much more modern sounding piano, but without losing any of the character either. Just because it's big, it doesn't mean it doesn't have to have any character in it. You can still hear the piano inside there as well. And I think that's what alt piano is really good for, is being very versatile, going from these different styles, being manipulated, changing it to exactly the way you want it to, but still everything will have character to it and mood and vibe to it. And that's what I'm really pleased with, how the whole thing has come together. So that's it. I hope there's lots of information in there. If there's anything you want to know specifically, drop it in the comments and we'll get back to you. But apart from that, I hope you've enjoyed it and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.